And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Go ahead and say it, Ed. Go Tigers!
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
You like that? You like that?
F it. Jamar's down there somewhere.
The New Orleans Saints select Marcus Davenport.
No!
Splash Brothers. Yeah.
It's playoff. Keep going, Brace.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
There's a fair amount of news and injuries, and but we're going to start off first with a word of prayer like we always do. Lord, just please be with us, and thank you for all the blessings you continue to give us, and just giving us the ability to do what we do, Lord, and just please let it just reflect in you, Lord, and shine a light for you. And just please be with Nora K. Meredith, as she's still undergoing this treatment, this battle with this terrible disease, Lord. And just please put your hand on her, and if it be your will, heal her, and a hedge of protection around her and her family, especially this time of the year around the holiday season, as it's tough to have someone sick and undergoing treatment and being in the hospital and having all these appointments and everything, Lord. So just please be with her and her family. And if it be your will, just please just cure her of this terrible disease, Lord. And also be with the Tech families and that tragedy there, and the Jonesboro families as they're both recovering from terrible instances, and just please let them turn to you and help them see the good in you, Lord, and shine a light for you, as well as Israel. Just put a hedge of protection over them, and as they go through and hopefully end that war, Lord, and help everybody turn to you and see that you're the way, the truth, and the light, Lord. And also Mr. Jeff Candies, he's undergoing his medical issues, Lord. And then I'm going to add one to this list, little Everett McCurry, as he is getting ready for hopefully a heart surgery, Lord, and one that he desperately needs. And we've been praying for this young man for quite some time, but it's a big day for him tomorrow. And I just want to put him out there, Lord, and please put your hand on him and his family as he goes and prepares for this heart surgery. And we appreciate everything you do for us, Lord. Just please continue to let us shine a light for you, and thank you for everything you continue to bless us with. In your name we pray. Amen. And thank you guys for joining us on this pod and our Start Sit Sleeper pod. Y'all know the parameters. I want to thank our sponsors also: Big Reed BBQ, Automotive Detailing Solutions, This Little Piggy Barbecue Food Truck, Mimi's Children's Boutique, and Doug Damona Farm and Feed. Thank you guys for sponsoring us, and if y'all will, please go out and support them because they support us, and we appreciate y'all listening, but y'all go support them also because they have jumped on the board and supported us. And we appreciate that, guys. And our title sponsor for this episode is Big Reed BBQ. They started as a family recipe in 1986. Their mild flavor is right on time, and the spicy is just enough heat. Owner Ken Reed and Director of Marketing Andre Leonard say you can get our sauce at Doug Damona Farm and Feed, Time to Shine Detail, the Salty Brahma, the Quitman Store, and Amazon. That's right, Amazon also, guys. So looking to do some cooking for the holiday season. Maybe you're wanting a barbecue, get on Amazon or go to one of these stores and order you some Big Reed barbecue. You won't be sorry, I promise. We appreciate you guys supporting us, and we're going to jump right on in. Tons of news, injury updates coming at y'all. And some of these might be a little too late because they're Thursday night, but at least you'll know ahead of time to kind of plan and pick up and do what you need to for next week, as they might not be back or they might be. But Keenan Allen was ruled out for Thursday night football tonight. Hopefully he comes back. We will see, but he will not play tonight. Tyreek Hill had an ankle injury, did not practice Wednesday. He missed sometime during the game, then eventually came back. No new update today, today is Thursday. Josh Jacobs, questionable for Thursday night. Seems like there's a decent chance he could miss. We don't know yet, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. If he does If he does miss, Zamir White looks to be his top replacement. That'll be for Thursday Night Football also. Justin Jefferson, limited Wednesday. If you don't remember, he only played like 13 plays and then left the game with a chest injury, went to the hospital. Apparently, it was not anything severe, significant. He's listed as questionable for the weekend, but he did practice limited yesterday. I have not got an update as of today. Chris Olave did not practice Wednesday, came out of the game with an ankle injury last week. Do not have an update for today. Keep an eye on him. A great matchup for Chris Olave this week, so hopefully he'll be able to take advantage of that with whoever's at quarterback. But he has an ankle injury. DJ Moore, ankle injury, did not practice Wednesday. Said it happened in the third quarter. He played through it. Honestly, he probably should be good to go. If he ended up playing through the injury and he didn't leave the game, he's probably just resting for maintenance-related purposes. Wednesday, don't have an update for today, but keep an eye on it. But I don't expect DJ Moore to miss any time. Isaiah Pacheco with that shoulder contusion he got ruled out last week. Didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. So given the fact that he didn't play last week, he ain't practiced this week yet. Does not bode well. I would not expect Pacheco to play. So CEH and Jarrett McKinnon will probably share that workload there. CJ Stroud, a concussion, left the game last week early in the game. Hurt a lot of people, including myself, where I did start him. But ended up he left the game, got put in the protocol, and he has not practiced since being in the protocol. Didn't practice Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday. Honestly, does not look too good if he is not practicing and he's in the protocol. Like sometimes we see the players, they come out, they're still in the protocol, but they're practicing. He's not practicing. And those that are practicing are the ones that sometimes we do see clear the protocol. But given the fact that he's not practicing at all, does not bode well for his chance to play this weekend. So I would keep an eye on that. But if he does not play, honestly, I don't rule in any part of this Texans offense. Devin Achane came out of last week's game with a toe injury, did not practice Wednesday. This is a new injury, which is kind of a little scary. So we'll just have to see if he comes back to practice. If this was just a maintenance-related thing, kind of where they got to list something, but a toe injury is kind of scary for a running back, especially one that's somewhat injury-prone already like he is. So keep an eye on Devin Achane, see if he practices the rest of this week. Jonathan Taylor has been ruled out for this weekend already with that thumb injury, had that surgery. This is only week 2. Would not be, or really, this is week 3, I think, actually, sorry. So I would not be surprised with him being out this weekend. Could come back next week. We'll just have to see. You have to keep an eye on that. Nico Collins had come out of last week with a calf injury, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Given the fact that Stroud does not practice, Collins is not practicing. Even if Collins comes back and Stroud does not play, I don't want any part of that offense, even if it is Collins. But it does not look good, honestly, for Collins to play either. Aaron Jones come out of, he's been dealing with that MCL injury, practice limited all week. Thought there was a decent chance he comes back. He ended up getting ruled out, didn't play last weekend, practice limited again Wednesday and Thursday. And honestly, might be a decent chance he comes back because his partner in crime there, A.J. Dillon, come out with a thumb injury after last week's game, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday this week. So given the fact they're probably going to be kind of short on running backs there, decent chance Aaron Jones comes back this week from that MCL sprain. Ramondre Stevenson with a high ankle sprain, didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. No surprise. Honestly, I don't expect him to play this week at all. Chris Godwin, knee injury, come out of it with a knee injury from last weekend's game. Didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. And I don't know if you're really relying on him much at all anyway, because he hasn't been that productive here lately. But given his injury history and knee injury history specifically, if he does not practice Friday, I definitely don't think he's playing. Brian Robinson Jr., hamstring injury, happened late in the game last week. And after he left, I told you Monday on the waiver pod, pick up Antonio Gibson. It's probably not looking good. Well, Robinson did not practice Wednesday. And after being ruled out last week at the end of the game, does not bode very well for him at all. And honestly, Antonio Gibson looks like he could be in for a fairly good workload against probably a pass-heavy attack against the Rams this weekend. So I like Antonio Gibson a lot. But Christian Watson, with hamstring injury, come out of last week's game, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. I'm sorry, didn't play in last week's game, and then has not practiced Wednesday or Thursday. And Matt LaFleur said today he does not think he will practice this Friday either. And with his history of injury to the hamstring, honestly, I don't see him playing this weekend, which is great news. If you have Jaden Reed, I really expect him to honestly be the same as he has been whenever Christian Watson is out. So also Alexander Madison has been ruled out for today, and sorry guys, a little interruption there. Alexander Madison has been ruled out for this weekend. We had a good feeling he would be after that ankle injury last week. More than likely, he will get ruled out. More than likely, I'm thinking they did not specify a high ankle sprain, but with an ankle sprain, typically a low one does not, keep you out of a week. So I'm thinking there's a good chance if they haven't specified, but they could end up being ruled out. Could end up being ruled out for more than 1 week if it is a high ankle sprain. Justin Herbert, as we covered in the waiver pod, but I'm going to throw him on here anyway, just in case you didn't listen to the waiver pod, had season-ending finger surgery on his throwing hand and was placed on IR, so he's done for the year. Just FYI, if you got Herbert, I'm sorry. And if you made the playoffs and you got Herbert, good luck, but go pick up Joe Flacco because he's probably your best chance right now. A.J. Dillon, like I said, didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Does not look good for him with that thumb injury. Darren Waller, designated to return, had that hamstring injury, was on IR, designated to return from IR, practiced today. Does not mean he's going to be activated just because he was designated. That means they got 21 days to activate him. But he said Wednesday he was optimistic that he would be ready for Sunday. So we'll see. That would be a big boost for people with tight end problems. But honestly, as inconsistent as Waller's been, I don't know if you want to rely on him anyway. And then last but certainly not least, Geno Smith, with that groin injury, was ruled out last weekend and did not play because he hurt his groin in practice on Thursday of last week. So we're just now in a week. And Dr. Coach Pete Carroll said Monday he was asked Monday, and he said it was too soon to tell. And honestly, he was just not as optimistic as we're used to seeing from Dr. Coach Pete Carroll. And normally he's like super optimistic about injuries, which does not give me all the warm and fuzzies inside that Smith will play. And I'll be honest, in one league, I need him. I have Herbert. I didn't make the playoffs in that league, but I'm not one of those guys that gives up, even if I don't make the playoffs. And he's pretty much by far the best quarterback on waivers. It's not even close. And Geno Smith, I need him to play because there ain't nobody else. So if he doesn't play, then I'll probably be rolling out somebody like, Tommy DeVito, which, he's scored some points the last couple of weeks. I probably could be doing worse. So anyway, Geno Smith, groin injury, no new updates as of today. But if Pete Carroll, was truthful, he did not sound optimistic. It doesn't sound good for Geno Smith this weekend. And that's going to round out our injury news and injuries. And we're going to go and jump right on and start and sits. And we're going to start with Clay's, as we do. And Clay's start for the weekend is going to be Matthew Stafford. And I don't blame him one bit. I will say I was shocked that Stafford was not ranked as high as I expected him to be. But honestly, he's been on fire of late. And like I talked about my waiver pod, put egg on my face last week because he had a tough matchup against Baltimore at Baltimore, and he showed out, put up 29.6 points. He is throwing the ball a ton right now. Threw it 41 times last week, and now he gets the worst pass defense in the NFL in Washington. The only thing that worries me is for some reason does their defense have success against Washington? They end up running the ball a lot, and he does not have to pass the ball. But excellent matchup. He's available in a ton of leagues, and he's put up almost 30 points the last 3 games. Great pick, Clay. I love that for a start. Mine is going to be Russell Wilson again. That's right. He was my pick last week, and he's my pick again this week and I don't know if y'all remember me telling you to pick him up because he's got a good stretch of good matchups coming up, and it does not end this week. He's at Detroit in the Dome, so no weather-related problems. Russell Wilson's the number 9 quarterback in fantasy so far this year. That's right, number 9, with at least like 18 points the last 3 weeks and at least 16 in the last, 7. And he had 25 last week against the Chargers. Now he's going to be at Detroit. Great matchup. They're 25th ranked against quarterbacks in the league. This has the look of like last week against the Chargers as a potential shootout. It didn't really happen, but Wilson still had a good game. He also rushed the ball again 6 times last week. Only had 1 interception. So anyway, great matchup for Russell Wilson at Detroit. And it's on a Saturday night. Don't forget, we got Saturday games and Sunday games this week. So if you're used to setting your lineups on Sunday, check them on Friday, guys, or check them Thursday night because Saturday and Sunday games. But yeah, my pick, Russell Wilson at Detroit. And then let's go ahead and roll to our sits. Clay's sit at quarterback is going to be Justin Fields. And I'll be honest, I'm a little shocked. I'm not saying that Justin Fields is going to have a blow-up game because he does kind of have a tough matchup this week at Cleveland, but Cleveland has not been as good against the quarterbacks as of late as they were earlier in the year, giving up some points to Trevor Lawrence and Matt Stafford the last couple of weeks, but it's still Cleveland at Cleveland. Going to be some tough weather, but Justin Fields also plays in Chicago where it's tough at home anyway. So I feel like he's probably going to be well adjusted to the outside weather of Cleveland. But they're still the 12th ranked defense against quarterbacks. But Justin Fields, his rushing floor, I feel like gives him a fairly safe floor. But just a couple of weeks ago, he only had 10 points against Minnesota at Minnesota. So I can see where Clay's coming at with this sit right here. Tough matchup for Fields. I think he's going to be okay. And I really think with some of the injuries and stuff that's went down this season, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody better to start instead of Fields. But if you do happen to have 2 good options and Fields is one, and then you have another one that's got a better matchup or just been better this year, yeah, you probably do want to sit Fields this week and not roll the dice. So I can't really blame you there. And then my sit for this week is going to be Tua against the Jets. It's at home, but last time he played the Jets, he only put up 9 points. And honestly, with Tyreek Hill kind of banged up, Tua has been great this year. Fairly consistent in the last couple of weeks. Only 9 points against Tennessee at home, though, last week. That was one where he should have went off, and he did not. And they ran the ball a lot more than people expected. And I really think this could be another one of those games where they do that because the best way to attack the Jets is running the ball, not passing the ball. And I think they take the ball out of Tua's hands more. I think you can expect more of what they did last week, somewhere around 9 to 11 points or so from Tua, and with some really good options on the waiver wire. And I think you could do better than that. Like if you had Fields or Tua, I'll be honest, I'd go Fields, but that's just me, just because of the rushing floor. But Tua this week is my sit at quarterback. And then Clay's sleeper is going to be Gardner Minshew. Oh, the Gardner. He has not been as well as a lot of people thought whenever he came on for Anthony Richardson, but he's kind of turned it on a little bit as of late. But this week he's going to be at home against Pittsburgh. Kind of a tough matchup. Pittsburgh's defense has been turned on. This is another Saturday game, but last week they gave up 26 points to Bailey Zappi in New England and 3 touchdowns. So I mean, I can see where Clay's going. They haven't been as well as of late. Not to mention, Gardner Minshew's got a fair amount of weapons at his disposal. I don't know if I'd go with him as a sleeper, but I could definitely see where Clay's looking and seeing that this could be a solid matchup. And honestly, with how shallow quarterbacks gotten as of late, I think you could do worse. So Clay likes Gardner Minshew. And then my pick is going to be the exact same as it was last week because he's been killing it. And I think he kills it again. Joe Flacco, guys, ranked so low, and he still 2 solid performances. And I know Chicago's defense has been better than what everybody thought they were going to be. But man, Flacco is playing like he has nothing to lose, and that's because he does have nothing to lose. I mean, he just got an extension, a 1-year extension contract, and he's going to get $75,000 extra bonus every game that he wins for the rest of the season. You don't think that mug is motivated to get out there and put up some points to win? Sign me up for some Joe Flacco, who's ranked. The dude's ranked after Kenny Pickett, who is ruled out for Saturday. Like literally, he's ranked after. I mean, he's ranked in between Bryce Young and Tommy DeVito, even though Flacco has put up 20 and 34 points in the last 2 weeks. Okay. And 20 was against the Rams, who's been playing well. And this week he gets Chicago, that's only ranked 18th against quarterbacks. Now, last week they held, the last couple of weeks they've been really good, but man, the weapons that Flacco has, and as much as he's been throwing the ball, even if he has some turnovers, I like Flacco a lot this week against Chicago at home in Cleveland to boot. So give me some Joe Flacco. And then that's going to wind out our quarterbacks. We're going to jump on into our starts at running backs. And Clay's start's going to be Derrick Henry. And honestly, why not? Now, he's been probably one of the most inefficient running backs this year, which is not Derrick Henry-esque. But what he has done is had at least 2 rushing touchdowns the last 3 weeks. That's correct. You heard me right. 2 rushing touchdowns for the last 3 weeks. Now, that is one thing you can't really bank on is getting rushing touchdowns, but they are giving him the goal line work, and he's got 2 in the last 3 weeks, okay? This week he's getting Houston, which is a pretty solid matchup. They're 18th ranked against the running back. They just gave up 28 points to New York Jets running backs. And, I mean, honestly, Tennessee's still handing the ball. And as long as they are, I think Derrick Henry's a solid play, so I like that start a lot there, Clay. And then my start at running back is going to be one that most people, honestly is one that I think is a pretty solid start. Somebody that hasn't been as great as of late, but it's going to be Zach Moss. We've seen him kind of bust really the last 3 weeks where he's had total control. But, I mean, they've already ruled out Jonathan Taylor again. He's getting the catches out of the backfield. But this week he's getting Pittsburgh, who's been pretty decent against the run, but the last couple weeks gave up 29 points to Zeke last week, who catches the ball well. So does Zach Moss. The week before that, 27 points to James Conner. So I like Zach Moss a lot this week, and I'm starting him in one league, and I really think he's at home too. So you don't, they seem to play better at home. So give me some Zach Moss. And then we'll go ahead and roll into our sits. And Clay's sit at running back is going to be Austin Eckler. And I can't blame him here because Austin Eckler has been terrible at running back for honestly quite some time here lately, which, I mean, it's really shocking because he's had opportunity after opportunity. Now, last week, put up 21 points against Denver with 5 catches, so maybe they're starting to work him into the passing game a little bit more, and he had a rushing touchdown finally. This week, he's getting Las Vegas, who's not very good, but it's a Thursday night game, which honestly, typically we don't put Thursday night games on here, but hey, Austin Eckler, Clay's sit this week, can't blame him one bit, and it's a Thursday night game also, Thursday night curse. So I like that pick a lot. And then my sit this week is going to be James Conner. Going up against San Francisco at home, tough matchup for James Conner, who we thought was kind of in a timeshare with Michael Carter, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere he gets against Pittsburgh, who we just talked about, Zach Moss going against, 25 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then he has a bye, so he's coming off, he's healthy, but is this the time where they're like, let's put Michael Carter in the offense some more? Maybe, especially against one of the toughest run defenses, the 5th toughest run defense in the NFL, who only gave up 15 points to Seattle's running backs total and last week. So, yeah, I just don't like James Conner. I don't like this San Francisco matchup. I think San Fran is on a mission right now, and they're going to come into Arizona and probably mop the floor with them this week. And I really feel like if it gets out of hand, they pull James Conner and let Michael Carter have at it. So I'm sitting James Conner. And then as far as sleepers, Clay has Ty Chandler as a sleeper, and I love it. Honestly, we just talked about it a little bit ago. Alexander Madison ruled out. If you got Ty Chandler going up against Cincinnati, middle of the road run defense, but Ty Chandler's the pass catcher. Now he's going to get a full workload this week, hopefully. And I mean, this Minnesota offense is struggling, and I feel like they got to pull out all the stops. This is another Saturday game also. This is the 12 o'clock Saturday game, so be mindful of that. But I think this is a great sleeper pick at running back, and I really got no argument with it. I think he gets the volume and the opportunity. And then my sleeper at running back's got to be Antonio Gibson. You heard me talk about Brian Robinson still missing practice. And Antonio Gibson, it's a tough matchup on paper because the Rams are really good at the run defense. But what they do is allow pass catching running backs to catch the ball. And that's something Cleveland did. Jerome Ford had a great day against them. Same thing with James Conner when he was there, caught several balls against them, and Seattle with Zach Charbonnet when Walker missed some of that game. And I think Antonio Gibson continues that trend. Had 4 catches last week for 37, 10 carries for 35 yards after Brian Robinson went out. They had a bye. They had plenty of time to instill him in the offense more. The fact that they had a bye and then Brian Robinson still hasn't practiced yet this week, coming off that bye, does not bode well. So if you got him, pick him up. He's not projected as a starter right now, but I think there's a solid chance he will be, and that's why he's my sleeper this week. And then we're going to go ahead and jump right on into our wide receivers. And Clay's start at wide receiver is going to be Chris Olave. And I don't blame him one bit. That's what I was talking about a little bit whenever I was talking about his ankle injury. Hopefully he will be good to go. But it is a great matchup for Chris Olave. And honestly, I don't think it matters a hill of beans who the quarterback is, because I think it's just such a good matchup against the Giants, who have the 30th worst pass defense in the NFL. And I mean, as long as he keeps getting targets, I think this is a good bounce back game for him. Let's just hope. He still didn't practice Thursday, didn't practice Wednesday. Hopefully he's just getting tended to with that ankle and it's not like a high ankle sprain. But if he does play, I think it's a big game for Chris Olave. I love that pick, Clay. My start at wide receiver is one that was my sit last week, and egg on my face was Cooper Kupp. And he come out and showed out. And honestly, with the best matchup against the worst secondary in the league, there's no way I can't put him as my start now. I mean, he put up, and I had to shut up now because Cooper Kupp showed out going up against Washington this week. Really the second worst secondary in the league, to Philadelphia's worst secondary in the league, but still the second worst secondary in the league. In the way the Rams are passing the ball right now, I mean, you got to put Cooper Kupp in your lineup. He was on my bench last week. I ended up winning that matchup, but it didn't matter. But he's still a stud. He still got it. Now, does he sneak into the top ranked wide receivers next year? I doubt it, personally. But this week, again, this matchup, the way they're throwing the ball, Cooper Kupp's got to be in your lineup, guys, if you were thinking about sitting him. And then we'll jump into sits at wide receiver, and the sit at wide receiver for Clay is going to be Calvin Ridley. And honestly, can't argue with him. He's been so up and down this year. Last week, 13 targets at Cleveland, but 4 for 53. Okay, 13 targets, 4 for 53. But you know what also happened? Zay Jones was on that field, and he had 14 targets, one more than Calvin Ridley. Okay, and that concerns me a lot because that means that he is looking Zay Jones way as much, if not more, than Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is going to get the number 1 corner every week. And then this week, they're going to be at home against Baltimore, which does not give me the warm and fuzzies inside because their secondary and their defense is stout. Now, they did just come off a terrible performance against the Rams, who put up Rams wide receivers who put up 55 against them. But this Ravens defense, I mean, they might have had an off week, but I guarantee you they're going to come with a strong game plan against this Jacksonville team. And with them not having Kirk, with Trevor Lawrence still being hindered, I'm sure, with that ankle injury, not being as mobile, that kind of makes him a little bit more one-dimensional. And this is a Sunday night game against Baltimore. You can bet money Baltimore's defense is coming to play on a primetime game. I don't blame you one bit, man. I'm not on the Calvin Ridley train either this week. So I like that pick. And then my sit is going to be actually a top 10 wide receiver, just for the sheer fact of the injury and the whole premise. And it's going to be Nico Collins at Tennessee. I don't want any part of this because I don't think CJ Stroud plays. I don't even know if Nico Collins plays, but if CJ Stroud doesn't play, even if Collins plays, I don't want to play him. And the problem is they play on Sunday, and there's a slew of games that are going to be on Saturday. There's 4, I believe, and 3 or 4. And they're going to be on Saturday, and your better option might be playing on Saturday. And if you wait till Sunday and he gets ruled out or Stroud gets ruled out, then you're going to be left holding the bag because Nico Collins is not going to be that top 10 wide receiver if Stroud doesn't play. That's just how I feel. So I'm sitting Nico Collins no matter what. I'm playing somebody else's a lot better opportunity in that situation. And then we got for our sleeper at wide receiver for Clay is going to be Drake London. Great pick. We really seen him finally get it together last week with Desmond Ridder. And this week, tough matchup at Carolina, but honestly, 11 targets last week, caught 10 for 172 against Tampa Bay. Just showed out exactly what we expect. It's just so crazy. All the offensive talent in Atlanta and their coaching is what holds them back. It's just really a shame. It really is. But anyway, at Carolina, not the best matchup, but I love the pick, Clay, because he's ranked so low, and I feel like they're going to try to give him the volume some more. Like that pick a lot as a sleeper pick for sure. And then my sleeper pick is going to be the same as I got two for y'all. Okay. Jaden Reed again at the Giants. At Tampa Bay this week, at home against Tampa Bay. Just as good of a matchup this week as it was against the Giants last week. And you know what? Christian Watson probably ain't playing again. He's dinged up a little bit with an ankle injury, but honestly, I think they're just managing it because they don't have Christian Watson. And they just want to make sure he stays healthy because he's such a big part of their game plan. Tampa Bay, 29th against the wide receiver so far this year. Love me some Jaden Reed this week. And then my other sleeper I got to throw in here. I got to give him some love, even though I was not high on him, and I'm still not completely convinced. But OBJ at Jacksonville, Odell Beckham, the dude has been putting it up for the last several weeks. And honestly, at Jacksonville, another plus matchup, 27th ranked in the league. You don't have to worry about the weather as much in Jacksonville this time of the year. And OBJ, has really put up some points last week, 10 targets, 4 catches for 97 and a touchdown. It looks like Lamar and OBJ are starting to find a connection as much as he's looking for him. He could be the Mark Andrews replacement in this offense. We know Isaiah Likely has been playing well, but OBJ has been playing well as well. He does not play as much as what scares me is the snap count. He only plays about 50 to 60% of the game, but that could be them just trying to manage his injury risk. But when he does play, they make attempts to get him the ball. This week, a great matchup at Jacksonville. I love me some OBJ this week as a sleeper. And then tight end, Clay has got at start at tight end, Jake Ferguson. Jake the Snake Ferguson coming in there, and really one of the highest red zone targeted tight ends, if not the highest red zone targeted tight end in the league. And honestly, he's just Dalton Schultz 2.0. I was a little hesitant at first when the league year started because he was kind of up and down with targets, but at least 8 targets the last 2 weeks. This week he's going up against Buffalo, who has been okay against tight ends. They're 10th in the league. But honestly, last week against Kelsey, 6 for 83, 14 points, and Ferguson. And the way the Cowboys offense is moving the ball, he's getting tons of red zone opportunities and looks. I love this. He's number 8 tight end on the year this year. I love this pick, Clay. I think there's a solid chance he gets more red zone looks at Buffalo again this week. And then my start at tight end. There's a lot of guys on this list, honestly, that are repeats for me, but for good reason because they got great matchups and great potential and opportunity. And another one's David Njoku is my start of the week at tight end. He was my start last week, and for good reason because he come out and put up 27 points because Joe Flacco is throwing the ball around the yard. But last week, 8 targets, 6 catches for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. We've seen Harrison Bryant. Some people thought he might be a threat. I was like, no way, because David Njoku is way too talented and athletic of a pass catcher. Now this week, he's going to be at home against Chicago, who's 26th ranked in the league against the tight end. And it's just a great matchup. Joe Flacco's been producing in this offense, and I feel like David Njoku might be his go-to wide receiver, pass catcher, not wide receiver, but pass catcher in this offense. So I love David Njoku this week at home against Chicago. And then sits at tight end. Clay is sitting Dallas Goedert. Boy, does he have a grudge against Dallas Goedert. My goodness. I think he's been on this sit list for Clay a couple times this year. But can you really blame him? Because last week he finally started at Dallas. Only come out with 4 targets, 4 catches for 30 yards. It looks like that Devontae Smith is going to supplant him as the number 2 pass catcher for sure in this offense. And this week he's going to be at Seattle, which is not the best matchup. It looks better on paper than it really is. The last 2 couple weeks they've had some good production from the tight end against them in Dallas and San Fran. But honestly, before that, it was rough sledding against Seattle at the tight end. But it's going to be on Monday night, and I feel like Jalen Hurts comes up, shows out, and throws the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith more than he does Goddard. But I love this pick, Clay. Dallas Goedert. Yeah, and honestly, I really think that they just kind of found their groove without him, and I don't know if he gets back into that pass-catching rotation or not. So I like that pick a lot there, Clay. And then my sit at tight end is going to be Dalton Schultz. Another Dalton this week, not Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid last week, Dalton Schultz this week. But he's going to be at Tennessee, and this straight up has to do with no C.J. Stroud. But also, it does not help that he's going up against the Tennessee Titans at Tennessee, who's the second-ranked defense against the tight end position in the league. And I know that if C.J. Stroud does not start, the backup's probably going to check down to Dalton Schultz a lot. But honestly, I just don't like this offense at all if C.J. Stroud is not starting. And Tennessee's defense played fairly well the other night. And I think there's a solid chance that Dalton Schultz does not get that much opportunity, especially coming off that hamstring injury. I think, when you got to worry about reoccurrence at Tennessee, it's going to be cold. And I hope he stretches that hamstring out very well, because that's also a high probability if you're playing in a cold weather environment of reoccurrence for a soft tissue injury like a hamstring. So, but yeah, don't give me any Dalton Schultz this week, especially since C.J. Stroud probably won't play. So that's my sit at tight end. And then sleeper at tight end for Clay, Cade Otton. I almost went back to this well, Clay, but I've been down that road too many times with Cade Otton, and he hadn't performed for me. Another great matchup. He did okay last week, 5 targets, 2 catches for 16 and a touchdown. But the week before that, Clay, no targets, no catches, nothing against Carolina. Now he's getting at Green Bay, which is a decent matchup against tight ends. But man, I just don't know. I feel like the way now, I will say though, all right, caveat to this: if Chris Godwin doesn't play, I like the opportunity for Cade Otton a lot more. So you could be right on track with that there, Clay. But Cade Otton is Clay's pick at tight end, and then for me, as sleeper at tight end, it's got to be Chig Okonkwo for Tennessee. Honestly, he's starting to find his footing in this offense. Will Levis is starting to go to a more 6 targets again last week, 5 catches for 46 yards after 6 targets the week before. Super athletic. Now this week he gets the Houston Texans at home, who's ranked 29th in the league against the tight end. And they just gave up 7 for 94 to Tyler Conklin last week. The Jets, not specifically Tyler Conklin. Most of it was Conklin last week against the Jets. And Okonkwo is far more athletic than them. And Will Levis is starting to come into his own in this offense. So I like Chig Okonkwo this week a fair amount as a sleeper at tight end. And that's going to wrap up our position players, guys. And we're going to jump right on. I'm going to give you a couple streaming defenses that I gave on the waiver pod, just in case you didn't listen and you still need a streaming defense this week. I like Chicago at Cleveland. I know I've said that I like a fair amount of Cleveland's players. That does not mean that Joe Flacco will not turn the ball over or take some sacks this week. And I think that's still an opportunity that Chicago will benefit from that. But I still like the volume that they're giving out in this Cleveland offense, but that does not mean that that's going to transition and not put up points for Chicago's defense. Also, I like Atlanta's defense at Carolina. honestly, just Carolina's offense has been so terrible. Atlanta's defense doesn't typically put up a lot of points, but they're not going to hurt you either. And they have a decent opportunity to put up some points against Carolina's terrible offense. And then last but certainly not least, on Thursday Night Football. So if you hadn't got them yet, you got to let one last chance. But I don't know if Clay's going to get them in there on the graphic for you before the game starts. But I like Las Vegas's defense against the Chargers at home with Easton Stick starting. You never know what's going to happen with a young quarterback that doesn't have a lot of experience. He's been in the league 5 years, but he doesn't have a lot of experience. He's only played like 3 other times since he's been in the league. So I like Las Vegas's defense against Easton Stick at home against the Chargers. And then a couple kickers for y'all just to consider. Lucas Havisk for the Rams going up at home against Washington's defense, who honestly just gives up a ton of points, and it's going to be a lot of opportunity for the kicker for the Rams. And then last but certainly not least, Jason Sanders, no relation, don't worry, for Miami at home against the Jets. The Jets is a good defense. Miami's a good offense. Typically, that transitions to a lot of opportunity for the kicker, whether it's field goals or extra points. So I like Jason Sanders a lot at home against the Jets this week. And that's going to round out our Start Sit Sleeper pod for Week 15. We appreciate everybody listening. Thank y'all. Please like, subscribe, download, give us feedback on your podcast application of choice. We really appreciate everybody taking the time to listen. It's been a long, good season. If you made the playoffs, great. If you're still trying to make it, good luck. And don't forget, guys, also keep in mind those handcuffs. If you clinched a spot, you got to buy, or you're playing for nothing this week. Also, if you're somebody that didn't make the playoffs, don't give up and let your team just sit out there with nobody playing. At least put people in that are playing. Take some risks. Have fun with it, okay? Because that's what it's about. It's all about having fun. But good. It's also about winning, because we all want to win, but it is what it is. But thank you all to everybody that's listening. Please keep your prayer requests and your thoughts and prayers. Nor K, the Tech families, Jonesboro families, Israel, Jeff Candy, and Everett. Just be in prayer for them. Thank you for everybody listening. Good luck this week, and y'all keep chasing that trophy.